I would like to introduce Assistant District Governor Tom Ray, who will be introducing our speaker for the day.
I had this bio in front of me, so I didn't have memorized it quite yet, Jim. It's the fourth time I've done it, but it's great to have District Governor Jim Boyle with us today. This is his fourth visit in our region, and he's inspired all of his visits so far. Jim is a member of the past president of the Rotary Club of West Lynn. He has served as assistant governor and to the board of the Metro Region District Chair for Essentials of Rotary Knowledge and the Stewardship Membership Chair. Raised in the Chicagoland area, Jim and his wife Nancy have lived in West Lynn, Oregon for over 25 years. Jim worked in a variety of Fortune 500 companies over the past 30 years prior to leading two consumer electronics companies. After leaving corporate life, Jim fed his entrepreneurial spirit by building and developing high-end residential properties and teaching MBA classes. Jim and Nancy raised one son, Ryan, and enjoy spending time with and entertaining your two grandchildren. Aside from traveling internationally, Jim enjoys playing pickleball, taking challenging hikes, and is an avid reader. Rotary found Jim when his hotel service project that benefited the women's shelter and involved the entire community. He realized then how significantly a small but committed number of Rotarians can impact the community. Through service, Jim and Nancy have developed lasting friendships and a network that spans the world. Jim has sponsored 32 new members and believes the world needs more Rotarians. So with that, Mr. Governor Jim Boyle, welcome.
Thank you very much. I got to tell you, I really enjoyed meeting a lot of you last week when we were meeting outside. What a great find that place is with all those food carts. It was phenomenal. And you know what? I have an affinity for this club, and honestly, it's because this individual, Jim Boyle, I wanted to share something funny first of all, rather self-facing. I selected this lady, individual, because of her leadership skills. She has helped this year tremendously in running the district. She is in charge, if you're not aware of it, or leads all the assistant governors throughout our district. The leadership skills she exhibits obviously is going to come into play for our district in the future, and we're very fortunate to have somebody like that on your team. Thank you, Jeannie. You know, over the last 19 months, we've shown a great deal of resilience. There's been a global pandemic. You know what? We've had political unrest, gun violence, ice storms.
Can you hold it up closer?
More? Sorry, is this better?
Yeah, they're saying they can't hear you. Or maybe take your mask off. You're far enough away.
You know what? Let me take my mask off. I'm happy.
Yeah, they said they can't hear you.
No.
Bryce, I promise not to mess up your All right, how about this? Better? I guess what we were talking about is resiliency, and I'm amazed at Rotarians, specifically the Rotarians in District 5100, what we've gone through and what we've done, and yet we're here today to continue to make a difference. And District 5100 is as committed to making a difference as this club is. In fact, I will commit to you that we'll be on fire. Allow me to explain what that means. FIRE is an acronym for flexibility, impact, reach, and engagement. You may have heard previous talks from district governors. In fact, let's stop right there. How many here I remember the last district governor talk? You know, a couple of hands. Okay, that won't offend me. How many here were so moved by that talk that you did something or moved to action? Okay, so that's good news. Let me tell you why. Because in the past, it was about membership and money. This is not about membership and money. In fact, the second area is integrity. You know, every one of us hopefully aspires to having our ethics in our personal and professional lives aligned. And sooner or later, will be tested with that. Let me share a brief story with you. We were over in Hong Kong as a company celebrating the 25-year anniversary of our company, and actually we had a great deal of success. And I had a board member come up to me and ask me to write a disparaging letter about my counterpart in Asia. I told that board member I didn't hire that person. I'm not responsible for that person. And I'm not going to write the letter. I honestly knew right then and there my days were numbered. In fact, that was February. Our fiscal year ended in March. So I had to stick around to March 31st so I could get my bonus because I didn't know what I was going to do after that. And April 1, I resigned. I'm mentioning that story too because I probably cost my wife and son some, I'll call it quality of life. We had to make some changes in the way we did. But honestly, I was asleep within 5 minutes. My wife says I was snoring. I say I was purring. But I was asleep within 5 minutes that night. Meaning, we all got to be able to look ourselves in the mirror. And when that crucible moment comes, I hope that you too have that same integrity. The third core value is diversity. This one is rather interesting. If you remember in the bio, Tom was kind enough to say, he said, fed his entrepreneurial spirit. Well, that was a nice way of saying, listen, I didn't know what the heck I was going to do when I grew up after leaving corporate life. So I was teaching MBA classes and trying to do some other businesses. Long and the short of it is, when doing the MBA classes, one of the things we were talking about was strategic decision making, honestly. And what it had to do with is if we took this thing called implicit acceptance test. How many here are familiar with that or even know what it is? If you aren't, I highly recommend you go look up implicit acceptance test. Because in it, the purpose was to take the assessment and to see what biases we may have. Now, in the file, you may have heard that I'm from Chicago. How many here, I'm giving away my age, Seth. How many here know Archie Bunker? You do? Well, that's my dad. Why am I saying that? Because honestly, from Chicago, it's a racially segregated city. I thought I would have an inherent bias towards African Americans. Interestingly enough, I did not. But surprisingly, after 12 years of parochial school, I did have a bias against Muslims. And I said to myself, where did that come from? I didn't go to school with them. I had no neighbors. I didn't know anything about it. Why did I have that? So that's an unconscious bias. So what did we do? With my wife's permission, by the way, I always run everything to the boss. We had 3 couples over for dinner that practiced, they're acquaintances, they practiced Islam. And we asked them permission to ask questions that evening. We had a wonderful dinner and a great discussion. I went back that next morning because I'm just that kind of nerd to take that implicit acceptance test. And guess what? The unconscious bias that I had was gone. Why am I sharing that with you? Because I believe all that is education, being open, being willing to learn, and guess what? We can find a way to become more accepting. I hope that diversity, that same opportunity happens for you. The fourth value is service. I alluded to that. I'm somewhat embarrassed because when I joined Rotary, most people join Rotary because they want to make an impact in their community. Not here. Honestly, I joined Rotary because I didn't know who the movers and the shakers were in my own hometown. So I wanted to network. That's why I joined. It was selfish, I'll be honest with you. I was better known overseas and outside of this area. So when I joined, I got to know some people, but within 2 months we had a service project. We filled a 40-foot container worth of household goods one Saturday morning, less than 4 to 4.5 hours. I couldn't believe that. And guess what? About 6 weeks later, those kids, it benefited, by the way, the benefit was for women and children that were starting over because they were victims of domestic violence. Those kids came back and said how much we made a difference in their lives, how they enjoyed school because they had backpacks, because they had towels, because they had plates. napkins, things we take for granted. We had no idea the kind of impact we made. You know, right then and there, the tattoos were permanently on me, and that's when Rotary hit me. I believe service is extremely important, and it ties people together. The last one's fellowship. You know, the last core value of fellowship. My wife and I recently celebrated 40 years together. She'll tell you that there were 28 years of the happiest years of her life. I have no idea what happened to the other 12. But interestingly enough, when we invited 40 people to celebrate with us, each of them had to have a significant impact on our lives. And guess what? I looked around the table and I found 25% of those people were there and they were members, they were Rotarians. And I'm like, oh my God, here I am joining the network, and I ended up with a residual benefit of having lifelong friends. I think those 5 core values are what really unite us. In fact, I think that's what keeps us in a sustainable mode and continues to allow us to make a difference. So let's explore FIRE now that we have that core foundation for us. Flexibility. What's the definition of insanity? Bingo. And let me ask you a question. If we're, and that's a good point. That is. Yes, it's doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Let me ask you a question. In my business, what I did was turnarounds. And this was kind of simple for me. Because if our management team got called and it was a turnaround, basically, I could tell you that things were going to change because what they were doing wasn't working, right? So we kind of look around, I'll ask this club the same thing. This is not an indictment, it's just a question. If you knew you could change something and you couldn't possibly go wrong, what would it be that you'd change? You know, nobody ever fails unless they stop learning and stop trying. FAIL is an acronym for first attempt at learning. And FEAR is an acronym for false evidence appearing real. I think we should try things. I think we should try something different. And we're talking about flexibility. Let me share a little bit something with you. We had the good fortune. How many here know John Yuko? He's the General Secretary of Rotary International. John got on a Zoom call July 1 with 535 of his closest friends. That's a joke. There were district governors from all over the world. And what he said was, you know what? He said, we don't have a membership issue in Rotary International. He said, what we do have is a crisis in North America. Let me share with you where he was going. And it was a rather interesting perspective that I didn't think about. What's the average age of a Rotarian?
50-something.
60.
Give that gentleman an M&M. Remember I told you wouldn't hear money in membership, but we still give out M&Ms. So it's 59 and a half. So now here's the next question. What's the average age of the American in the workforce?
32.
39. Give that one. Give him a little M&M. He is a treat. So now I ask the question. What does Rotary look like 20 years from now? A lot of things we do because they make us feel comfortable. I'd like us as a Rotary to ask the question, what do we have to do to be attractive to that 39-year-old working in the American workforce? How do we become attractive? I'll ask this question. What is the product? Being from business, I have to ask this question. What's the product Rotary offers? A lot of people say service, price, community, part of it. You know what it is? It's actually the club experience. What makes up the club experience? Meetings like this, service projects, socials, fellowship, firesides, your website, all those are part of that experience. So the question is that attractive to that 39-year-old? The reason I'm mentioning that is this ought to alarm us. It did me. And on one hand, we are actually better off than most. Let me show you where I'm going at. In the United States, the percent of membership under 40 is 5.6%. That means 1 out of 20 members in the Rotary Club are younger than 40. This club does much better than that, by the way. Congratulations. Our district is almost twice the national average. We're almost at 11%. That's pretty darn good, but we got to do better. So I'll just leave you with that thought. What are we doing to be attracted to that individual that isn't the average American in the workforce? You know, as a district, we're here to serve and help clubs. And we're talking about being flexible. What do we got to do to be flexible? Well, we've created a Grow Rotary committee. And as a matter of fact, I want to take a brief moment in time. Is Claudia still on the line? Because I want to recognize Claudia.
Nope.
No. Then you can tell her she missed this, but I will tell you what I've done, and I'll give it to Bryce.
But Mike is her
Is
husband. Her husband's.
Hey, Mike,
His audio's not on.
tell Claudia we said congratulations, because you may not be aware of this. But Bryce, what I have here are 2 banners, and the 2 banners are shown because Claudia and this Rotary Club have exhibited an ability to be flexible. This is the first club in the United States that will have 2 satellite clubs. Those are banners for the satellite club that Claudia has helped initiate, and there's 2 of them to represent that. And also, we were talking about fire. That fire is a pin. I want to read this briefly. Rotarians committing to be the torchbearer who will invite, unite, and ignite new members. Claudia, thank you very much. Appreciate it. So we've created a Grow Rotary committee to help grow Rotary clubs because we haven't done so in the past. And what does that mean? We're trying to create pathways in the Rotary. I got a story to show you about our club. It's somewhat embarrassing, but you'll get the point. I arrived late at a meeting and I'm looking in the back, and there's a young gentleman that I haven't recognized, and he's sitting in front. And guess what? At the end of the meeting, I look around, maybe he's at a table, we're in round, so it's probably table of 6. And I don't see very many Rotarians from our club talking to this guy. So I go up to him and I say, listen, Ben, you want to go have some coffee or lunch? He says, Jim, if you're buying, I'm having lunch. So we go have lunch, and I find out the following. Check this out. 24. Moved to a new town, didn't know anybody, starting his own insurance company. He was captain of his baseball team, played Division I baseball. Graduated with honors. And he was also a leadership position in his frat. He's the complete pack. Would you say this would be an ideal person for? Unbelievable in my mind. So what did we do at lunch? He told me about how he didn't feel comfortable with the people that were in the club. I said, guess what? That's not stopping you from being a member. So we created a satellite club, and he, my wife, and others joined the satellite club. What we did was created a new pathway for others to enjoy Rotary. They didn't have to fit our model. And I just asked the club to consider it. Obviously, with the 2 satellite clubs, your club has done that. We also have a membership committee headed by Dennis Long. And as I stated before, we're here to make clubs successful. We have got a program that is actually starting to work. We hold quarterly best practice meetings live. We've had through Zoom that allows us district-wide. I will share something with you. We've never achieved a 90% retention rate. I don't know if you know what that means, but if this club started with 100 people and didn't have anybody new join, on average, you know what it would end up at being? You have an 80% retention rate. It'd be about 87 or 88 people. So we're working on helping clubs improve retention, and to get that, you got to have engagement. We'll talk a little bit about that later. This year we also, and I'll let the club decide what it does, but there are no district dues for any new member. So how you want to handle that? I don't know. If you want to make a 2-for-1, whatever you want to do, Bryce, you and your board can decide. We also are not charging at all for any training activities district-wide this year. So the kind of things we want to do to invest into the district. You know, the second element, I'm sorry I spent a lot of time on that, but I believe flexibility is very important because it causes us to be creative and innovative. The second area of avenue is, you know what, remember Lucas when we talked? I said, Lucas, I may have a job for you. You're the secretary, treasurer, is that correct? How, Lucas, you may not know this, but maybe somebody here, how many years has this Rotary Club been in existence? 90? Oh, plus that. All right. So, Lucas, this may be more magnanimous than you want to do, but maybe you can take a look at this. If Rotary International says that each service hour is a value, economic value of $25. So if we took everybody in this club and we multiplied $25 for every service hour that this club did, do you think that'd be a huge number?
Yeah.
We're not done yet. Let's add in our fundraising activities, whether it's concourse elegance or selling steaks out of your trunk. Or let's take a look at other activities, fundraising and or contributions to the Rotary Foundation or to your club foundation. And then how about matching grants from district or global grants? If you took all those numbers and added them up for 1 year, what do you think? Pretty big? I then challenge you to extrapolate that to the 88 or 90 years plus or minus that you have been in existence, and then come up with that number and post that and let your community know what Rotary has done. That would be a huge number. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to brag, because you guys have made an unbelievable impact. And I believe that's something that we don't tell that full story. We're big. You know, what we're going to help do this year is facilitate as a district. It's not a requirement. It's just an opportunity where we can leverage what we do well. Habitat for Humanity, there are 24 affiliates in Southern Washington and Oregon that we are working with for the day of service on Saturday, April 30th, 2022. Would it be awesome to have Rotarians build houses?
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things we're going to do. In fact, we're working right now with all of them. And obviously, we're partnering with Shelter Box. You may not be aware of this, but our district is number 5th or 6th globally in terms of contributions to Shelter Box. Thank you for that. And thank you, Janine, for being ambassador for that. We're also working, how many of you remember your first bike? I'm talking about the ones without training wheels. I remember 7, right? And when I went 2 miles from my home, I thought I ran away and I had total freedom. Well, we're working with Free Bikes for Kids. There's actually 2 entities. Washington County has one, and we're also working with Free Bikes for Kids. We're going to collect 1,000 bikes this year in the spring and have them provided for underprivileged kids. So they'll do all the mechanical. All we got to do is work on bikes. So that's the kind of impact we can have just by doing one service project and leveraging ourselves what we can do. The third one is reach. You talk about F-I, now R is reach. You know what, on reach, sometimes we confuse reach with public image. I'd like to expand your thought about what reach really includes. Do you remember that guy, the baseball guy, the 24-year-old? Let's expand that, because I received a Facebook message from an individual. That individual asked me, I'd like to meet with you and talk about Rotary. So I didn't invite her to lunch, I just invited her for coffee. I met Dr. Joy Fashu-Mutare. She's from Zimbabwe. I should say Dr. Joy Fashu-Mutare from Zimbabwe. Guess what we're doing now? We are now shipping baseball equipment over to Africa, and next year we're contemplating having a baseball coach go over there and teach it. So I'm talking about, that's the kind of reach we can have just by extending ourselves, offering it. I think we need to leverage our strengths. And I don't know what this club's strengths are, but when you want to expand your reach, leverage your strengths. In the district, for example, you may not know this, we get gold medal status for youth exchange. we win awards all the time. We have an excellent training program. In fact, most people don't know that we have more sessions in our training when we do spring training than any other district. In fact, come and ask us what we're doing. So when we leverage our strengths, I think this club can leverage its strengths and expand its reach by doing that. The last, along that, we did one other thing on Reach, and it's available to anybody here. We have created a video studio in the district. Some of you may remember EG Jam or that we've sent out videos because we found out that in the past, less than 20% that were reading these. So now we're almost up to half, or 50, I think we're at 48% on the DG Jam on the videos. So we're trying to do something. So the video studio is available for you. We've done a lot of things you may not be aware that we have a LinkedIn profile. Rotary started occasional service. We really haven't done much. We're trying to instill that. We're looking at a partnership with Toastmasters. We have one now. We're starting one and expanding that. We have a business ethics award. We're trying to do more that expands our reach. Finally, engagement. Let me ask you a question. The best way to get this example is to ask an easy question. Who here has had perfect attendance? Thank you for not raising your hand, because we're not after perfect attendance. If you did raise your hand, I would say congratulations, but I would have said that's easy to measure. Then I'd ask this, how do you measure perfect engagement? I don't have that answer, but I really hope this club, whether it's at a membership or as the board level, would have that discussion. Why? Because it provides a baseline for expectations. And it makes new members as well as current members united in on the same page. I'd ask you to take a look at that. Bryce was kind enough, when he announced the Rotary Story Slam. We also have something else going on. This is rather, to be remember in the bio, I'm happy to say this. That I sponsored, oh Christ, I'm too long, sorry, I'll wrap it up. I sponsored 32 members. I didn't say that braggingly, let me tell you why I say that. Because the gentleman that asked me for 10 years, his name is Thomas Joseph of the Clackamas Club. He's my dry cleaner. He kept asking me for coffee or lunch. I thought he was hitting on me. I kept telling him no, because I was traveling all over and I didn't have time. In fact, I didn't want to be a member of a club I couldn't make all the commitments to. But I ended up joining when I left corporate America and I didn't have to travel as much. And that's when I found out what happened. So all we got to do is ask somebody. Let me show you why I'm saying that. Because what percent do you think what percent of Rotarians has sponsored new members? It's not a trick question, but would you say anything if you knew you were getting M&Ms?
2%.
5.
It's actually about 15 or 16%. Now let me ask you a question. This blows me away. If we join Rotary because of service primarily, and we stay in Rotary because of the people and the friends we get, why aren't we sharing it more? Everyone. So we created a program this year, and I hope it sustains and goes further, but it's called The Power of One. We're asking each Rotarian to just share Rotary with somebody. We're not asking you to recruit, don't recruit, because your club needs to look at being attractive. Just share it with somebody. I call it the litmus test, just to make them aware of Rotary and just share it. And everyone that sponsors a Rotarian this year is eligible for a drawing, and the winner of that drawing gets to go to the International Convention for free on the district. We'll also have another drawing, and the second place winner also goes to the district conference on the district. So I guess we're serious about sponsoring and making people aware to share. One last thing, in Seaside, 19th to the 22nd, we'll have the One Rotary Conference. A lot of people have said, the district governor is responsible for the club, for the district conference, and the district governor-elect is responsible for the spring training. This isn't about district governor. This is about members. And when we polled, members said they don't want to give up Saturdays. So what we're doing is we're combining that. So instead of having a spring training in April and a district conference in May, we're going to do it together. And it's going to be in Seaside. You know, I've talked a lot, so I'll try and wrap it up here. Gone over the core values. We've talked about flexibility, impact, reach, and engagement. And I just want to leave you with the following thought. If joy comes from giving, and giving leads to a life of significance, I ask each one of you to be significant in somebody's life by one of the following 3 ways. 1, ask somebody, share Rotary with somebody. Number 2, share your Rotary story with somebody so they understand your why and it may move them to action. And the third thing is, you know what? Just continue to invest your time. Put your treasures and your talents to work so we can serve the underserved. I guess I'm saying, if you would be so kind as to light a fire so Rotary can continue to serve the world and we can serve and change lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Don't run away just yet. On behalf of our club, we wanted to give you this beautiful Pacific University scarf to help keep you warm for the rest of your travels. Thank you. Thank you for coming out today.